Hello and welcome to Lovely English Stories. Thank you for stopping by. This story is written for intermediate English learners. Ready? Let's get started. B1, B2 English story. Winter Wonderland. Felicity loved funfairs. She was an adrenaline junkie and adored rides, fast food, and arcades. Ever since she was a little girl, she had been attracted to the bright lights and excitement of fairgrounds. Whenever she went on an excursion to the seaside with her family, she would always ask to visit the arcades and go on the roller coasters by the beach. As an adult, she loved theme parks and had visited all the major ones in England. She was saving up to go to Disneyland with her sister. Her other favourite fairground was the amazing Winter Wonderland in London. She went twice as a child, and ever since, she has wanted to go back. She had saved up enough money to stay in London for a long weekend with her friends. They planned a day at the Winter Wonderland and a day shopping. She hoped to kill two birds with one stone and get her adrenaline rush as well as most of her Christmas shopping. Felicity and her friends took the train into London. Then they took the tube to their hotel. It was in a fabulous location. They couldn't believe they'd managed to book into such a lovely hotel at such a busy time of the year. They took some time to get settled into their hotel rooms. Felicity shared with one friend, and the other two were next door. They had wonderful views over central London. It was breathtaking. Even after visiting many times, Felicity still thought that London was one of the most stunning cities in the world. Felicity and her friends unpacked their belongings and headed up to the rooftop bar to have a good catch-up over a glass or two of mulled wine. They also planned their weekend in more detail and enjoyed some of the bar's snacks. They headed to bed at about 11 p.m. and all managed to have a decent night's sleep, despite being overly excited for the weekend ahead. The next morning, they woke up and made their way to the breakfast room. They all indulged in a full English breakfast and a couple of cups of tea. After, they went back upstairs and got wrapped up. Felicity had thermal tights, a thermal top, a thick woolly jumper, and a big quilted coat. She also decided to take her earmuffs, gloves, and extra thick scarf. If it's one thing that Felicity hated, it was being cold. After they had all got ready, they headed out into London. They spent the morning perusing the shops along Oxford Street and Bond Street before walking over to Harrods to buy some bits and bobs for their families. Lunchtime arrived, and Felicity and her friends were ravenous. Luckily, they had already booked a table at a restaurant close to the Winter Wonderland at Hyde Park. They enjoyed a leisurely meal and recharged their batteries, ready for their afternoon and evening of fun and frolics at the fairground. After enjoying a coffee, they walked through Hyde Park and made their way to the entrance of the Winter Wonderland. Luckily, Felicity had pre-booked tickets, so they didn't have to queue for long. They were all incredibly excited. Dusk was looming, and the fairground attraction lights were beaming through the park. They could hear the faint laughs and screams of people enjoying the rides. Felicity felt the excitement pumping through her veins. She practically skipped around the fairground. She was mesmerized by the flashing lights and the smells of the Wonderland. As a group, they decided which rides they wanted to try. They started with the helter-skelter, moved on to the twister, then took a relaxing ride on the big wheel. The view from the top of the wheel was captivating. London was a sea of twinkling lights. After the big wheel, they walked around the Wonderland and decided to have a go on some of the games and stalls. Felicity ended up winning a huge teddy bear, and her friends won inflatable novelty toys. They decided to give them to a family who were also playing the games. They were too big to take with them on the tube and train, and besides, the children would enjoy them much more. Their little faces glowed when they handed over the toys. Felicity and her friends felt overjoyed at the children's reactions. They decided to head to the ice bar, and they all enjoyed a very festive mulled wine. They got talking to some other tourists and shared tips about the best rides and stalls. Felicity didn't want the evening to end. She took deep breaths and closed her eyes. The smells of the hot dogs, burgers, candy floss, and roasted chestnuts floated through the air. She wished she could package that smell in a bottle and open it whenever she felt sad. They decided to have a break from the fairground and went for a stroll through the Christmas market. There were over 100 stalls filled with beautifully handcrafted goods. Felicity decided to buy her grandma a beautiful silk scarf, and she got her cousins some hand-baked ginger biscuits. She also treated herself to some elderflower gin and homemade toffee. After they visited all the stalls, they went to the ice skating rink. One of Felicity's friends didn't like ice skating, so she got herself a drink and watched the rest of the girls' bags as they played on the ice. Felicity was a decent ice skater, as she had taken lessons when she was a little girl. She loved flying around on the ice. Her friends were not so confident, but they had a wonderful time. Their skating slot came to an end. It was time for them to get off the ice. They had a break and a hot chocolate before heading to the magical Ice Kingdom. Felicity had always wanted to see ice sculptures. She had read about artists who made them, but had never had the pleasure of seeing one. She was mesmerized. They walked through the displays of sculptures and saw everything from lions, tigers, wolves, Father Christmas, and more, all made from ice. Felicity and her friends took lots of photographs together. They promised to come back again next year. They hadn't stopped laughing all day. As it approached 9 p.m., they decided to say their goodbyes to the Winter Wonderland and slowly made their way back to their hotel. They were all shattered and wanted to have enough energy to make the most of the day ahead. They had a jam-packed itinerary which included visiting Liberty, Harvey Nicholls, and Fortnum and Mason. As Felicity got into bed, she flicked through her photographs of the day and felt contented and warm inside. She was so glad she got to spend the weekend with her friends. It wasn't very often they all managed to get together due to their work commitments. As she snuggled into her duvet, she slowly closed her eyes and dreamt of nothing but ice sculptures, ice skating, and big wheels. Roll on next year! Do you like visiting fairgrounds as much as Felicity? Tell us in the comments below. We hope you enjoyed this lovely English story. Thank you for stopping by. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. See you soon!